the elite, as they're called in the United States, the wealthy, decided to take as much as they possibly can and run for the hills. The bankruptcies are happening, the hyperinflation is happening, and the vortex has opened up and it's swallowing all decency. So you have a layer cake of debt. And so the global economy is $300 trillion in debt. And it's the highest debt level it's ever been in. And like any system where it becomes ultimately overly leveraged, it gets to a point where you have systemic collapse. And so the 2008 collapse, which was enormous, this is now going to be the 2024-2025 collapse, which would be much bigger.
Bitcoin is poised for a monumental surge as the global economy teeters on the brink of collapse, fueled by unprecedented debt levels. This is the latest insight from Bitcoin maximalist Max Keiser, who recently shared a compelling update on Bitcoin, the broader crypto market, and BlackRock's unexpected influence. Keiser believes BlackRock is playing a transformative role in 2024, far surpassing the impact of any other major investor, and most people are unprepared for the seismic changes it will bring. As Bitcoin has surged 45% in the past month, reaching around $98,000, global fiat currencies are steadily losing their footing. According to Keiser, this is Bitcoin's moment to shine as true money, immune to inflation and government manipulation. Stick around until the end of the video, where Max Keiser dives deeper into Bitcoin's ascent, the decline of fiat, and how global elites might attempt to dominate the crypto landscape in the years ahead.
Stop. You don't have time. Don't miss out this 2025 bull run. Educate yourself first ahead of the crowd. We have created the ultimate step-by-step crypto cheat guide that will guide you this bull run. Unlock the secrets of crypto and make smarter investments today. Now by clicking on the link below to get your exclusive copy just under $10.
The global Ponzi scheme is really running out of steam. And so to dovetail into like looking at the banks a little bit here, last week they had a huge story about the yen carry trade. You know, this is something that was suddenly on everyone's lips. It's something I've talked about for many years. I've talked to you on your show about it. What is the yen carry trade? And it just speaks to the nature of the global central banking system, which has never been more leveraged and never been more fragile. And they are in a position where they have to either print and, $30-40 trillion worth of more fiat paper to bail out these banks. Or if they go into a situation where they let the banks fail, then that definitely will precipitate complete social unrest. And then they want to be able to deal with that. I noticed last week, the only stock price that was up during that flash crash in the market was Raytheon. You know, the defense contractors, of course, are going to make out like bandits in any kind of situation like this. But it all goes back to what happens when an economy like the United States or other economies around the world, they forsake hard money and real money and real accountability and real accounting, and they rely on money printing. And the money printing is always in the hands of the worst parts of society. And you have the worst people in charge of the money printers. Technically, it's called a kakistocracy, ruled by the worst amongst us. It's worse than even a kleptocracy. And this is the problem, is that the people with the worst intentions are the ones with the greatest control over the money printing. Like if you don't have Bitcoin on your strategic reserve as a country, you're going to go fade away. You're going to disappear. It's perfect money, and everything else, as I say, goes to zero against Bitcoin. So Trump, anyway, he made this announcement, and of course the Bitcoin audience is very excited by it. But it is a direct threat to the central banks, because the central banks are empowered by the fact that they can print infinite quantities of paper money without any accountability, and then use that paper money to influence policy and direction of the economy in ways that benefit them. And with Bitcoin, of course, you can't print it. It's impossible to counterfeit Bitcoin. It's a fixed supply, and the value continues to increase relative to everything else out there. But, all those dollars are losing purchasing power against Bitcoin. And it's a shock and a shame that Warren Buffett doesn't own any Bitcoin on Berkshire Hathaway. Unlike Michael Saylor at MicroStrategy, that was a $2 billion company just 2 years ago. It's now pushing to be a $40 billion company by the simple act of putting his cash into Bitcoin and then selling debt cheaply and putting more Bitcoin on his balance sheet. What the United States should do, and what El Salvador is in the process of doing, is selling government debt to buy more Bitcoin and ratcheting up into a bigger and bigger Bitcoin position. And that's the global hash war and the conversion of the fiat money world into Bitcoin. Ultimately, this is the savior that'll help the global economy. Trump and Senator Cynthia Lummis talks about how Bitcoin will help America get rid of their $32 trillion worth of debt. I mean, this is how you do it. You have to leverage your way out of your debt hole. What people don't understand in the last 20 years, I mean, they understand how leverage works. They understand how the derivatives market is just more leverage on top of leverage. That's what a derivative is. It derives its value from another contract that derives its value from a third contract, and they're all debt. So you have a layer cake of debt. And so the global economy is $300 trillion in debt. And it's the highest debt level it's ever been in.
The U.S. is grappling with a historic fiscal crisis marked by massive debt, soaring deficits, and rising risks in the bond market, pushing the nation toward potential collapse. Traditional solutions like austerity measures or tax increases are proving ineffective, prompting discussions about innovative approaches, such as leveraging Bitcoin. A recent post by Stackhodler on X suggests that Bitcoin could play a pivotal role in addressing the sovereign debt crisis. If the U.S. government devalues the dollar and adopts Bitcoin as a reserve asset, it could help offset the country's enormous debt. With Bitcoin's potential to emerge as a global reserve currency, this strategy might offer a long-term solution. However, the transition wouldn't be easy. It would likely involve a period of dollar hyperinflation before a Bitcoin-based economy could stabilize and thrive. What do you think of this idea? Share your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's return to Max Keiser for his in-depth analysis.
So this has been building in the system now for 15, 20 years. And like any system where it becomes ultimately overly leveraged, it gets to a point where you have systemic collapse. And so the 2008 collapse, which was enormous, this is now going to be the 2024, 2025 collapse, which would be much bigger. Where we're heading, I would look at what's happening in the UK right now, the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom is becoming a 360-degree panopticon surveillance state, that will include a CBDC introduction. Every moment, there's just the number of cameras per square meter in the UK is incredibly high, could be the highest in the world. It's becoming really dystopian, nightmarish surveillance state in the UK. And I think that's where the globe is heading. I think that the UK is already kind of there. You know, they're on the leading edge of how the state is going to react to this financial nightmare as it unfolds. They're going to become, the surveillance aspect will be pushed, I think, harder than the bail-in. So in other words, if your surveillance is good enough, then you'll just be rationed money. So when you will be rationed a certain number of dollars per week, and it's designed like a casino. So it's an artificial AI-driven casino world, and that's how you exist in that world. And I think that we're seeing that play out in the UK right now. I think we're at the bitter end, Alex. Everyone's going to have to make their own choice, but we're at the end, and this is the time now to think about how you want to deal with this. The bankruptcies are happening, the hyperinflation is happening, and the vortex has opened up, and it's swallowing all decency. The elite, as they're called in the United States, the wealthy, decided to take as much as they possibly can and run for the hills. And they have gutted the economy, and they don't care if it collapses. They've got their 300-foot yachts out in the Mediterranean, their chateaus in Switzerland. Everything goes to zero against Bitcoin. And what do I mean by that? I mean that in terms of purchasing power. So your purchasing power of your dollar obviously is going to go down versus Bitcoin, but your purchasing power in terms of gold, property, fine art, your business, stocks, bonds, everything, the purchasing power of everything relative to Bitcoin is going to go down, because it's only a $1.2 trillion asset in a world of $400 trillion worth of financial assets, financialized assets. So and just like software ate the world during the 70s and 80s, and every company in the world became essentially a software company. Car companies are a software company, airlines are a software company. All value will become priced in Bitcoin. Everything will be priced in Bitcoin, particularly energy. I would say the next big prediction, I'll make a prediction here, is that within 24 months, all the major global energy contracts will be priced in Bitcoin, not dollars. And that will be the end of the fiat money world as we know it officially and the beginning of the Bitcoin epoch. Money is a unit of exchange and a unit of value that represents the value of society in a lot of ways. And during hyperinflation, where an ounce of gold went from 1-to-1 Reichmark exchange rate to something like 1 trillion to 1, right? Values themselves in that society's crash. So these things that we would normally find abhorrent become normalized, and that's what we're seeing in the U.S. right now. Is because of the inflation, because of the loss of values, the aberrant behavior that society would normally look down on is becoming normalized. So what's happening now is that at the foundational level of the global debt pyramid has always been the Japanese yen, because the Japanese yen, starting in 1989, went into recession and their interest rates started to get really cheap, but they had a lot of cash there due to this enormous pension money of the state. And that was always the source of ultimately all of the repackaging and refinancing of all the global debt for 30 years. This has been going on. But finally, the yen is getting to the point where the Japanese government has to defend the yen from crashing. So they're raising interest rates. And this effectively is calling time on the global Ponzi scheme. And the Japanese government has decided that they're going to try to inject a whole nother layer of free cash debt to stop that Ponzi scheme from exploding. And so the market's bounced. But I think we're at the very last inning of this 30-year global debt Ponzi scheme.
As the global economy faces unprecedented challenges, Max Keiser warns that the looming debt bubble is on the verge of bursting, putting the financial system on the brink of collapse. In this climate of uncertainty, Bitcoin is emerging as the ultimate hedge against chaos. With traditional currencies losing value, Bitcoin's fixed supply and growing adoption position it as the only reliable alternative for preserving wealth. The shift toward Bitcoin is inevitable, and those who adopt it now will be best positioned to thrive in the coming financial era. The time to prepare for the future is now. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.